I want you to imagine for a second that you're walking onto a whimsical, colorful movie studio lot.
Right, expecting to see animators drawing fairy tales and all that.
Exactly. But instead, you are greeted by, well, 500 to 700 heavily armed soldiers, plus camouflage vehicles and 3 million rounds of anti-aircraft ammunition just stacked right there on the grass.
It really sounds like an alternate history novel. But that was the stark reality for the Walt Disney Studios in Burbank, right after the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941.
Yeah, so our mission for you today is exploring how the U.S. military physically occupied the happiest place on Earth and, forced Disney to weaponize its beloved cartoons to actually fund the war effort.
Because post-Pearl Harbor, Disney had to dedicate over 90% of its output strictly to government contracts. It was a complete pivot.
Which brings us to the Treasury Department. Because the government needed to finance a war that would eventually cost nearly $300 billion.
Right, which meant getting everyday Americans to pay income taxes, many of them for the very first time, and they had to buy war bonds.
So the Treasury Secretary at the time, Henry Morgenthau, he pitches Walt Disney this very serious character. He literally called him Mr. Average Taxpayer.
Such a catchy name.
Right. The goal was to convey the solemn duty of funding the war. But Disney insisted on using Donald Duck instead.
Which, on the surface, seems completely counterintuitive.
I mean, yeah. Why would you hire a grumpy, chaotic cartoon duck for a deeply serious IRS campaign? It's like the government hiring an angry internet influencer to run national finance.
Well, it comes down to the psychology of persuasion. Disney understood that way better than the Treasury did. Because paying taxes hurts, right?
Oh, definitely.
So if you use a stiff, serious character, you just highlight the pain of handing over your money. But Donald's irascible, everyman persona really changed that.
Because of his quick frustration and his struggles with temptation.
Exactly. It humanized the incredibly intimidating concept of national finance. He basically makes the medicine go down.
Like in that 1943 film, The Spirit of 43. Donald is torn between spending his money on idle pleasures or saving it for the war.
Yeah, the spender was represented by a zoot-suited spendthrift character, and the saver was this elderly, Scottish-garbed, thrifty saver.
Which is wild because they literally road-tested Scrooge McDuck as a piece of World War II financial propaganda.
They really did. And it was staggeringly effective. That single short film was seen by 26 million people.
Wow, 26 million.
Yeah, and 37% of them reported that it directly influenced their financial behavior.
Okay, so Donald gets people culturally on board, but warm, fuzzy feelings do not buy bullets. How do they actually extract the cash?
Well, they had to target children and their parents with tangible, low-cost incentives. They rolled out bonds for babies' premium certificates, for one.
And 25-cent war savings stamps, right?
Yes. Because a standard $18.75 war bond was just way too expensive up front for most families, so the government simply lowered the barrier to entry.
They essentially gamified national defense. I mean, you buy a 25-cent stamp, stick it in a booklet, and once it's full, you trade it in for a maturing bond. It's literally like collecting cereal box tops.
That is exactly what it was like. And the scale of this micro-contribution strategy was massive. In just one school year alone, American kids raised $715 million this way.
Wait, $715 million?
Yeah.
In 1940s money. Purely from school kids' allowances. That sounds impossible.
Well, mostly it was parents using their kids as proxies, to be fair.
Ah, okay, that makes more sense.
Right. The bonds for baby certificates were purchased by parents, but issued in the child's name so they would mature by the time they reached adulthood. It was brilliant emotional leverage.
And they were super secure, too. I read that authentic Disney-designed bonds from the government printing office had these elaborate spread eagle watermarks.
Oh, the security was intense. Under a microscope, Donald Duck's eyes were actually printed as tiny blue microdots just to prevent forgery.
So with all this success, generating hundreds of millions for the government, it makes it sound like Disney would be absolutely swimming in cash.
You would think so, but the reality was the exact opposite. They actually nearly went bankrupt.
Because Walt Disney pledged to do the work at cost.
Right. Yes. And the problem was a fundamental clash between government procurement logic and Hollywood accounting. The government was used to buying tangible goods.
Like tanks and rifles.
Exactly. Where they only paid for direct materials and labor, they completely refused to cover the invisible creative studio overhead.
So Disney basically sacrificed its creative momentum and its financial stability during the war.
Yeah, but they traded that short-term profit for an unparalleled cultural legacy.
That is true. They permanently wove their characters into the fabric of American national identity. I mean, they even designed the Marine Toys for Tots train logo, which is still used today.
They essentially became a foundational pillar of American institutional trust.
Which leads you to ponder something really interesting. If a massive global mobilization happened today, what modern tech or entertainment conglomerate could the government seamlessly convert into a financial propaganda machine?
It's hard to imagine anyone having that much universal sway now.
Exactly. Does a universally trusted cultural mascot even exist anymore to unite the public, the way an angry little duck did back then? Something to think about next time you imagine a whimsical studio lot covered in anti-aircraft gear.